Hello, my horror-loving dudes. I'm Killjoy Jake, and today, let's get into a review of Scream 6. I have been waiting for this day for an entire year. Let's get into it.
Well, sometimes that is better.
Starting off, spoiler-free, so no worries, you're not gonna get spoiled. I'll give you a little warning before we get into that section. I loved this film. I loved it so much. I loved it here. I loved it there. I love it everywhere. I am convinced that radio silence is living rent-free in my head. Just about everything I have ever wanted a Scream sequel to do, this film did. And like, I'm not even exaggerating. I'll be honest, listen, I come on here, I get a little excited sometimes. If I would have filmed this video yesterday, it would have just been a bunch of rambling nonsense. I was a mess walking out of the theater because I was so ecstatic about this movie. I had tears coming down my face. Like, if I had $35 million, this is the Scream movie I would make. Obviously, I can't tell you specifics yet, but what I will say is that if you're expecting another run-of-the-mill Scream film, this is not that. You will be sorely disappointed if you're expecting a film that is just exactly like Scream 5. The formula is different. The formula is very different here. They're doing something else here that I'm already seeing people that they don't like it, and I love it. But it's also obvious that they've changed this facet. Once again, I can't talk about it yet. They've obviously changed it for the audience, and I can't say what that is, but it totally works for me. This is not your grandpa's Scream film. I have like one or two little tiny gripes with the film, like one or two little tiny things, but it's nothing compared to some of the problems of the other sequels in my mind, where they have had gigantic stretches. Like, think about in Scream 3, Sydney has 2 ankle guns and a bulletproof vest. Like, I mean, that's insane. How could she have been that prepared? You know what I mean? There's nothing like that in this movie. There's nothing so big of a stretch to the point where it's like, okay, come on, They lose the cheeseball factor of the franchise, but up the comedy, up the horror, and up the gore. You will not be disappointed when it comes to the kills. Let me just say that. This movie is exactly what I've been saying for a year now. I want to see dark Scream. This is dark Scream. It is still a Scream film at its core at the end of the day, but it takes things a little further into that horror movie world. All right, if I go any further, I'm going to spoil something. I have to talk about this movie. I'm so sorry. Go watch it. Go check it out. Like, seriously, go see this thing in the theaters. Get this opening weekend up to 40 million like how they're projecting. Let's get this film to be the most successful Scream film. I think that it can happen. But spoilers ahead. Spoilers. You have been warned. If you are reaching for the remote right now and you can't find it and you're like, please God, Jake, don't say any spoilers yet. I'm giving you some time and I'm stalling. Who cares about retention on a video? Am I right? This is my favorite film of the entire franchise. I don't care. Listen, objectively, the first movie is the best one. Like, that changed the world of horror. But the opening scene to 6 shows us that there are at least 3 ghost faces. That is so cool. What? Oh my God. I was losing my mind. I was like, okay, yeah, Samara Weaving, she died. Like, okay, whatever. That's an opening kill, I guess. But then, what? Tony Revolori, what are you doing, man? That's numero uno, check off of my little checklist of things I've wanted to see in a Scream film. Oh, but we're not done. Like, we're not done. That's one thing I wanted to see, but we get 2 in this opening. Tony Revolori unveils himself as our Ghostface killer this time around. Ooh, and then he calls his accomplice Greg. We know this in the first 10 minutes. Oh my God. I'm like, dude, they're doing Red Right Hand with a $35 million budget. That's crazy. But then old Tony Revolori, or Jason as I should call him, because he's watching Jason Takes Manhattan, he gets himself a call from Ghostface. It's Ghostfaceception, baby. We get our first Ghostface versus Ghostface in a movie. Let me tell you that when I say that in the first 15 minutes of this movie, I had tears streaming down my face and a smile from ear to ear. I was the happiest person in that theater. Like, people were losing their minds and clapping after that opening scene. It was one of the best, you know what, it was the best theater experience I have ever had in my life. And to see a dismembered body in the fridge and then Tony just gets slapped, I mean, what an opening. It's my favorite opening scene. It is my #1 favorite opening scene. Like, listen, Casey Becker in the first movie, objectively, once again, the best. But my personal preference goes to this film. That was amazing. This movie also technically has 5 Ghostface killers, as we learned by the end of the film, and yes, I will be counting all 5 of them in my ranking later this week. Greg technically counts. He was gonna be the Ghostface of this film, but then some other Ghostfaces were like, yeah, you know what, screw you guys. No, we're the Ghostfaces this time now. That is so metal. That is like the most metal thing I have ever seen this franchise do, and I love it. I am so in love with this film. If it took human form, I would marry it. Okay, that was real aggressive. I'm gonna take take a breath. I'm gonna collect myself here. I can't help it. I can't. This movie was too good. It was just it way exceeded my expectations. I was expecting like another 8 out of 10, and this was way higher than that in my mind. Okay, all right, let's collect ourselves here, Jake. We've got to make a video. Got to do a review here. With that out of the way, though, I do want to talk about two little tiny issues I have with the film. Nothing super crazy. Nothing that bugs me like some of the other sequels. Number one, straight out the gate, Dermot Mulroney is just blatantly obvious after the first like 25-ish minutes. Like if you just take 2 seconds to think about who was where during that opening kill, you can figure out that it was either Dermot Mulroney and Kirby, and it wasn't Kirby, like, or Gale. I mean, I guess it could have been Gale too, but like, come on, they're not gonna be the killer in this film. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I pretty much figured out it was Dermot Mulroney, like I said, first 20-25 minutes, and I'm like, I don't know if I like that or not. I'm like, that's very blatantly obvious. And then there's more scenes with him that make it even more obvious. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? But it didn't click with me until at the aftermath of Quinn's death, which, by the way, that whole sequence is awesome with Quinn and Anika. Oh, what a good scene. We'll talk about that in a sec, but let's focus on this real quick. Dermot Mulroney, he comes out, right? And he's like, he's limping a little bit. You're like, okay, he's limping like he just like got into a fight all night. What is, like, it's clearly him. What's going on here? He comes up to Sam, and he goes on that whole rant about how, like, you know, you kill one of my own, I kill you. I mean, that line alone pretty much solidified him as a killer. But the best part about this movie is they don't give a if you have it figured out or not. The characters don't, because of their situation. It's dramatic irony. Like, this is all done on purpose because the characters are so blinded by their past trauma. They're going to sympathize with Dermot. If anything, Dermot Mulroney is one of the smartest Ghostface killers in this entire franchise, and he's playing into that. We don't have that trauma. Like, maybe we do. Maybe we, unfortunately, if that unfortunately happened to you, all the love, I'm so sorry. But in this situation, in the moment, because this movie only takes place across like a couple of days or so, Dermot Mulroney is playing them so hard. Like, he says that line, he's like, if you kill one of my own, I kill you. And Sam is like, right on. Right on. You know what I mean? Like, she gives that passionate, like, I'm with you, man. We gotta stop this guy. And it's like, it's literally him, Sam. Oh my God. It's almost kind of hard to watch. You're like, Sam, oh my God, it's literally him. You could take 2 seconds, Sam. You can figure it out. Stop being blinded by your emotions. But that's the whole point of this movie. People are blinded by their emotions. It plays into the motive. It plays into our characters this time around. It plays into the overall theme of the actual film. It's genius. I love it. It's the best one since the original, like, without a doubt. And like I said, if you're watching this like a conventional Scream film, you're going to be disappointed. You can figure out like everything that is going to happen. You don't see Quinn get killed, so when she gets thrown out, you're like, yep, she's definitely a killer, and they just faked that. And then from that, you can deduce that, yeah, it's her father. Like, yeah, it's all there. Ethan, maybe a little bit better of a mystery, but he's pretty obvious too, let's be honest. But once again, that didn't bug me. This is not your grandpappy's Scream film. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not looking for the killer this whole time. This is much more about like the motive and the character relationships. That is the most important thing here, and I kind of love that. It's still mysterious and it still packs a lot of surprises, but they're not the ones that you're used to. All right, one more little tiny issue I have about the film. Chad should have died. Like, just straight up, Chad was dead. He got every vital organ in his body stabbed and he comes back out alive. Is it a bit of a stretch that he survived? Yes, but was I still clapping and cheering when he rolled out on the stretcher? I absolutely was. I will say, if I do have like one issue about the film that I really don't have a workaround with, there should have been an emotional death. They kind of teased it a few times, which was nice. Like Gale, I genuinely thought they killed her. I was like, dude, no way. They should have had an emotional death. Once again, I do want to address that. Like, one of the things I was like, I'm going to take issue with this if they do that, if they have 6 or more survivors. And I believe they had 7. I don't know. That's not, like, maybe my one big negative about the film. Like, I wish they would have had an emotional death. They should have killed either somebody from the core 4 or like Kirby or Gale. With that all being said, though, this is not the biggest stretch of the franchise. You can comment down below and be like, oh, it's big stretch, big stretch. He totally would have died. Listen, some of y'all want Stu Macher to come back, who got stabbed like 100 times and got a TV pushed on his face, which crushed his head. And there's proof of that in this movie that he is dead, which, once again, another big positive for me. If you're someone who thinks that was a stretch and you also are disappointed that Stu wasn't in this movie, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't. But let's get into the good, because there is a lot of that. The formula, once again, as I was praising it before, I'm gonna praise it here again. They change it up. This is not the same old, same old. I think from a distance, you can look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's a Scream film. And that's good enough, because that's your DNA of the franchise still present and alive here. But with that, they kind of take it a little bit and they grab it by the throat and they strangle it a little bit. It gets real intense. The biggest thing is that, once again, they literally kill the Ghostface killers that would have been your typical formula. You know, you don't know who it it is. It's somebody in the friend group. Oh, it's Tony Pepperoni, whatever his name is. And then also Greg, whoever Greg is. All that I know of him is that he was a pile of meat in the fridge, but maybe he would have been a more prominent character in this film. But no, our killers this time around don't give a f about the stab movie. They're here for a motive that, yes, is familiar, but you can't, I don't even know if this is arguable. It's just a way better interpretation of that same motive. Radio Silence basically took Mrs. Loomis, split her into 3 people, and well, just in my opinion, did it a million times better. Here's my thing about Mrs. Loomis in Scream 2. Her performance is a little over the top, and I've talked about having an issue with that. I don't think it works with her character. But let's put that aside for a minute. There is no setup, and it feels so unprecedented when she comes out and she's like, I'm Billy's mom, ah! It feels like a rewrite, and it sucks. It feels very rushed, just like how the production of that film was. With Scream 6, though, there is a theme throughout this entire film about family and revenge and all that, and literally every time she gets a Ghostface call, it's from her contact, Rishi Kirsch, which is still in her phone. There's such good and subtle setup to this being the case at the end. They basically just did Scream 2, but better here. Like, way better. It doesn't feel unprecedented when they're talking about their motive. I took no issue with it. And I've said for a long time, I'm like, if it's Richie's father, I swear to God, I'm gonna lose my mind. No, this was the best case scenario for doing a father character or a parent type character. And trust me, I did not come out here saying that. I thought I was gonna walk out of the theater and be like, Richie's father! Oh my God! And Dermot Mulroney sold it, man, as well as both of his kids, Liana Liberato and Jack Champion. Oh my God, they were good. There was nice little shots of them where they just looked so creepy, especially Liana Liberato, who loses some of her teeth in this movie, and she's like, got teeth and blood dripping down her face, and she's walking towards Sam with a knife all crazy. It's awesome. And let me tell you that Ethan's death is the happiest and most proud I have ever been of my Radio Silence boys, preserving the legacy of one of my all-time favorite killers, Stu Macher. He's dead. Like, he's actually dead. There is literally no workaround. They say it in this film. Stu is dead. He's on a board, dead 1996, and they kill Evan in the exact same way. There is no argument for him being alive at this point. I'm sorry if you wanted to see him back, but like, to me, this is preserving the legacy of an awesome character. If they would bring him back, it would just be for fan service, and they would just be for money. I'm gonna be honest, and the Radio Silence guys, that's not why they're in it. That's not why they're here. That they're not doing this for money. They're doing this because they want to give us good Scream films. And this one might be the best one, in my opinion. Really, this is the only requel I'm gonna talk this passionately about. Like, I've talked about how, like, the Jurassic World franchise, Star Wars 7, 8, and 9, trash. Candyman 2021, just like Mindy, I think it was pretty good, but it wasn't great. This is the first requel franchise that is really fucking good, and I'm just like, I'm so passionate about it. I don't know, man. It kicks ass. I love it. Great formula, man. We talked about the formula, we talked about the opening and the killers, but let's talk about the kills themselves. They absolutely delivered with the kills in this film. Like I said, the opening kill is probably my favorite moment of the entire film. I love that. This is technically not the most deaths we've gotten in an opening scene for a Scream film, depending on how you count Scream 4, but like, this is for sure 3 deaths. So I'll take it. It's also the most gruesome, I think, without a doubt. Like, oh my God, that fridge scene? Man. Samara Weaving is great in her very limited role here. I thought she killed it, dying in a back alley. You know, I liked the character she played too. She felt like, oh, I'm just this awkward person. I just want to meet somebody, and then she gets stabbed and killed in an alleyway. It's sad. It really is sad. It's a good way to start the movie. But yeah, Greg in the fridge. I mean, that's awesome. I know we didn't see it happen, but like, that's the most gore we've ever gotten in a Scream scene. Pretty much all of the kills are really good, especially the killers themselves. That knife in the mouth. Ugh. Best kill though is Anika's death off the ladder. Oh my God, when she hits that dumpster, like, I mean, everyone in the theater was like, oh, brutal, man. I mean, that was like some Evil Dead 2013 shit right there. That was hard to watch. It's so upsetting too. I mean, you literally just had Mindy and her kiss and be like you felt it. You could feel in the moment like that was the last time they were gonna be together. Okay, you know what? There's my emotional death. I'll take it. I didn't know Anika for long, but I feel bad for Mindy. Speaking of Mindy in the Core 4, I loved the character development in this movie so much. Oh my God. I love the Core 4. Like, I love them so much, and I love that Chad is recognizing that they're the Core 4. It's awesome. It's great, man. It's so Scream, too. It feels so meta to say that. I don't know if they coined that term or if it was the fans. I mean, we've been saying that for like eight months or so. I loved that, man. That was so funny. Chad, just everybody from the Core 4, I think, stood out big time in this movie, especially Melissa Barrera, which makes me so happy. I have seen so much potential in her as a final girl, and everyone wanted to shit on her in Scream 5, and she kills it here, man. I mean, honest to God, she is elevated all the way up into my top 10 status for final girls. You thought Richie's death was brutal? Watch how she kills Dermot Mulroney in this one. I was like leaning back in my chair like, oh my God. I thought she was gonna slice the dude's arm off. Like, Like, I genuinely thought they were going there. And besides that, though, we get, like, once again, this is sort of meta in a weird way. They said that the film wasn't meta, but it was, in a very subtle way, but it works so well. We have Melissa Barrera literally say the line, like, it hurts not having people like me or whatever. And it's like, that's such a meta riff off of the reception to 5. That's so funny. I like you, Sam. I like you. I'm right there. I'm right there for you, girl. But it works so well with the overall plot of this movie and like how she got framed by Dermot and all that. Like, dude, it's so good. I don't know, man. This is a very well-written movie. The core 4 are great. All 4 of them stick out big time in this movie. And Jenna Ortega. I haven't talked about Jenna Ortega yet. She's great in this movie. She gives my favorite line of the entire film where she tells Ethan that he's gonna die a virgin. That little incel. You go, Tara. In conclusion, though, I know that some people will be disappointed with this film, but I think overall, people are looking for a fresh take on Scream. Every other film has kind of followed the same format while having some new surprises here and there. This film has those shocking surprises that you don't see coming, but then it also has like a brand new take on the idea of what this franchise is, on what these movies are. It is refreshing, if nothing else. It felt so new. I've never seen this movie before. The chase scenes were good, the kills were good, the characters were good, everything was awesome, man. Like I said before, objectively, the first one is the best movie. It has a crazy cultural influence. It like started this whole franchise and all of that. I love that movie so much. It's a masterpiece. But so is this one. What did you guys think about Scream 6, though? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching my Scream 6 review, and thanks for hanging out over the course of the past 2 years covering all these Scream movies. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content in the future. Support this channel even further if you can by clicking that link in the description for Patreon. Thank you all again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.